All right, here's George. I'm very glad you won that fight, Matt, but I'm not impressed by your performance, and I look forward to fight you in the near future.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and just yesterday on the channel on the Comics Aficionados, we talked about this topic in depth, but the conversation in total was about an hour and 10 minutes where we covered the Marvel news about their new releases and how they're moving forward. So I wanted to get something that's a little bit more tight on that one, under 20 minutes. So people, if they didn't have time to go listen to that entire conversation, they can come here and watch this video. And joining me today is my good friend from Fantastic Comics, Yul Carter. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. I hope I can help you with this, making a concise video.
Oh, yeah. I think we've done this before. This isn't our first rodeo. We should be fine. We've been waiting to hear from Marvel for it feels like a month and a half now. You would expect the market leader to come out guns blazing and be leaders for the industry, but that has not really been the case. DC Comics certainly has been. Boom Studios, Image Comics. We've seen Eric Stevenson, Philip Slayback, Jim Lee. They've all been on the forefront addressing issues, trying to get information out there. But it's been basically radio silent from Marvel. Finally, we have information. They are not going to be releasing new comics starting 20 May, which we thought it would be based in line with what DC had released, but it is going to be 27 May. And they're going to be releasing comics and graphic novels every other week. What do you make of this plan? It seems odd to me.
Yeah, and if you take a look at what Marvel is actually putting out there, it feels a lot like the DC releases. Not very important titles, maybe the ends of mini-series that were coming out, and reprints. Now we see that Marvel's doing 1 week of comic books and then 1 week of trades, like you said. We were talking about, like you said, and it's probably a way to bring out new materials, but not kill the pocketbooks of the company or of the stores that might not have a ton of customers. I guess I'm okay with it. It's not exciting. Nothing is coming out that is like super exciting that's going to get you to want to come into the store. Obviously, there are events that had started that maybe are not going to keep going on. And then there's the events that we've been waiting for that would have come out sometime around now, probably. I guess they're waiting for us to open up in the bigger markets so that it doesn't hurt us that everybody else had got the books out early. I don't know, man. It's a mess is what it really is. I think everybody's trying to do what they can. They just don't know what to do, really.
It feels really disappointing. And, you mentioned DC's release schedule. Well, they just opened up Lunar Distribution, UCS Distribution. It appears that Marvel is not going to be on board. They're going to be a Diamond exclusive distribution or publisher for distribution. But DC was kind of doing a stress test for these new distribution models, giving retailers an opportunity to sign up, maybe hear feedback from other retailers who had already signed up and received their comics. And maybe, they were kind of ramping up to start opening the market. Whereas Marvel felt like they were waiting for concrete information, but they're going to ramp up as well. Like, I thought one of the reasons that you would wait for all this information is that you could come out guns blazing with some of your hottest stuff and really get people back in stores. It feels like they don't have a strategy other than to prolong the wait as long as possible.
Yeah, well, unlike DC, who kept their people working on books, Marvel was laying people off, or at least telling people the pencils down and all that stuff, taking
and half their editorial staff.
Exactly, furloughing or maybe just getting rid of altogether. Why don't they have like their superstar people that are working on something special so that it welcomes you back to the store when it finally is going to happen? Maybe not these releases that are coming out right this second, but maybe like a month from now, and maybe they do. I mean, Donny Cates is talking about working on stuff, and
the release schedule was finalized out to July, and there ain't nothing special in there.
They should at least be making us want to care about what's coming out in the future, and it's not really happening right now.
It's crazy. You look at the releases. No X-Men. There's no Fantastic Four. Where's Empire? Certainly, there's no Ten of Swords. There's a lot of the big comics, the big titles that should be in there are just completely missing, at least through July. I'm flabbergasted that they, DC Comics, yes, they're ramping up, but in June, you're getting Batman 92. We're finally going to see the first appearance, really a punchline, I think, in action where she's talking to people, and, Clown Hunter's coming up. Like you said, they might be trying to buy time for the New York market, the California market, and some of these other heavily, densely populated areas that have been affected more by COVID-19 coronavirus to open up. But, are they going to even miss that date? Is it going to be you guys are open and then a month and a half later, there's actually titles that stores depend on to drive traffic finally arrive again?
Dude, well, out here in California, we are closed till the end of May. And obviously you can do things. There's workarounds to be open, but that's not really going to fund the entirety of your business. So if we hear that at the end of May, that we're going to extend another month, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, if they're holding off their big events for the big cities, I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to have to figure out something, because can't realistically purchase the big events like the big companies want us to order, because I don't have any assurance that anybody other than the people that specifically need these things are going to purchase them.
Obviously, publishers, the distributors, the retailers themselves, there's so much uncertainty right now. When you finally open your doors, it's been a long time. It's we're coming up on 2 months now, I believe, since you were able to open your shop and sell comics. How many of those customers are going to be coming back? How much foot traffic is going to be going in there? It's completely uncertain. So I can see why Marvel is biding their time and kind of holding off until they have more information on the market and what it's going to look like coming out of this. But it feels like DC is kind of seizing the day, if you will, and kind of taking advantage of it. And they've certainly taken a leadership position in the industry. Not all retailers are on board with their new plan for distribution, but now there are 3 nationwide distributors for comic shops to choose from. That's something that wasn't available just a few weeks ago, and that's all because of DC. And they actually have comics coming out, and it seems like they have a new, more coherent digital strategy as well.
Unless they're not sharing the ability to hang out with Lunar and the other company, with Marvel and Image, if they don't have an exclusive contract, then I foresee Marvel eventually, getting in on that action too, especially if it's competitively priced against Diamond. I would hope that eventually it would help out for the stores even more. But DC is really, they are showing a gumption. They maybe when they were holding the line at $2.99, that was them kind of saying, "Hey, look, we're better than you, Marvel," in that regard. And I know that sales were good for them during that time, but it has to irk them that they always saw Marvel still leading in dollars, because Marvel is like, go ahead and hold that line. We're gonna burst the belt. $3.99, $4.99, $5.99, and on and on. And that has to irk DC when they see that, because they have something that's selling, but they still can't own the dollar share. Yeah, to see them come out as hardcore as they are, and Marvel not doing a damn thing, because Marvel is like the most exploited publisher out there. It's funny that DC is the one to do it, because DC is kind of like changing places with Marvel as far as just going out there and only caring about themselves, really, I think.
So as a retailer, when you see what Marvel, the lack of transparency, the lack of information, and then you see the rollout plan, which seems to lack imagination or really any plan in place to really get people excited about comics, what does that say to you about them as a publisher, as a company, and their feelings about the direct market? Or are they even really all that interested in comics anymore? Are they more just an IP farm for Marvel Studios?
It's one thing to not come out with a real major event or something that really gets people in the stores, but no X-Men. That was the one book that I don't need X of Swords, or 10 of Swords, or whatever the hell it's called. I just need the one book that everybody cares about coming in, and them saying that that's not coming out. Fantastic Four, not necessarily the greatest book, but definitely, a Marvel staple. enough to have people cry for years when it wasn't in production. You know, those two books, especially not coming out, is, yeah, it's worrying, at least a little bit. I mean, the one thing I'll say is X-Men was delayed a little bit already, and Hickman has had times where he doesn't get stuff out, or they're just like, hey, you know, not everybody's open, and this is our biggest book. To put it out now would be really a stupid thing. But yeah, they're lackluster.
You had to expect something more from the industry leader as far as communication, like to you guys, like to retailers at least.
Oh yeah, they've been horrible. They didn't gauge the situation correctly and were like, oh, we're going to give you a big discount on our stuff. You mean the stuff I'm not open to sell? You know, all right, thanks a lot. DC at least said, you know, they're going to make their stuff returnable. But of course, that was after Image did that. You know, Image has been the company that, you know, actually Image and Diamond, when Diamond said that they weren't going to distribute right now, I felt like it was a good thing. It wasn't the worst thing that could happen. It slowed everything down, because if that stuff kept churning out and coming out during this time, we would have looked at like 2 or 3 months of comic books that had just come out, and not only would they be sitting on them and not selling them, I wouldn't be selling them, and the few people that are open around me or in other parts of the country would be selling them. But Marvel being so quiet, oh man, and not they're rudderless. I mean, CB Cebulski comes out and only talks about like food stuff originally. Oh, don't worry, you can still go to blankety blank and, you know, buy some hamburgers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, give me a break. I mean, hey, tell me about your company. Tell me what you're thinking. I mean, Todd McFarlane's talked more about the issue than anybody at Marvel.
It's nuts.
I mean, and DC was quiet. DC was super quiet, but at least you felt like, I mean, seeing what's happened now, you feel like they were quiet because they were figuring out what they were going to do.
They were planning.
And yeah, they're planning. You know, I mean, these are the things you might want to do before you open your mouth. But Marvel hasn't done anything at all. Where are you?
They weren't the only publisher affected. You know, Diamond and everyone. They actually had to re-solicit. You know, for a start date. It was going to be, you know, 20 May. Now it had to be moved back to 27 May to accommodate Marvel. You know, what are your thoughts about them? You know, kind of impacting other publishers now, and when they're able to start soliciting comics and come back online now.
Well, I think it's better if they can at least align with each other and get the stuff out at around the same time, because you don't want a situation where, I don't know, you want all of the Marvel people coming in at the same time as the DC people. You know, there's cross-pollination. So I think that's a good thing, and it shows a willingness that they might actually want to work together. I hope that they're willing to work with each other, and, you know, even talk to the smaller companies, because those guys don't really have a whole lot of shelf space available. The one thing that's encouraging now is their willingness to cut down, at least right now. I hope it would continue going forward, and, you know, we could work in conjunction with DC. Maybe have a summer event that only lasts in the beginning of the summer, and then DC can follow up at the end, you know, and it doesn't like break all our pocketbooks, but maybe everybody can be happy with the choices that they make, you know, that are out there.
So there were a lot of omissions from the comic releases for Marvel. This will be the last question. Do you think any of these, you know, is New Warriors ever going to get published? You know, we see that's gone. You know, Outlawed seems to be gone. There was little to no interest in that. You know, some of these titles that just didn't have sales, do you see them never coming back? Is Marvel going to scale down the line?
If those comics are made and they are not going to publish them, they'll probably, that's a perfect situation where you could do something digitally. You know, drive people with those there, or, you know, come out in collected form. So I expect that there will be a day when we might actually see the New Warriors if it actually was finished. Yeah, I would hope so. It all depends on their willingness to work with each other and realize that there's only so much shelf space, and I'm not going to order everything. If I don't order everything, I might not order a lot of stuff that is from you. So it would behoove you to not come out with, you know, 70 titles in a month. You know, sometimes it's worse.
No, they've shipped upwards of 120 new comics in a month.
Yeah, ridiculous. I mean, that's usually like one shots or side stories that are involved in like big events. Maybe don't do those things anymore. Yes, I've loved many miniseries that are tied in with a big event, or those one shots we've talked about with Dark Knight's Metal. Those are really good. We're in the digital age. Those could have been digital books, and then you could collect them later on. They didn't necessarily need to come out. Made you money, but you can only do that so often. And not only that, it's a dilution of product. If you have tie-ins with War of the Realms, and then you have an Absolute Carnage with tie-ins that happens the month after the other one stops. And then, all the Iron Man 2020 has miniseries that go. Iron Man 2020 has miniseries in it. Those could have been 5-page backups in that book, So, be a little bit more creative, or have one book that has all of those stories come out. And you got to be a little bit more creative. Yeah, that's it. Do that.
Well,
be more creative with your marketing.
I really appreciate the time today. We covered a lot of ground. Like I said, there is an hour and 10-minute long conversation in Comics Aficionados at the very beginning where we talk about this, and then we talk about some more stuff after that. I know you have a YouTube channel as well. Where can people find you if they want to hear more of the verbal stylings of Yule Carter?
All right. Well, my name is Yule Carter, and I own Fantastic Comics. That's our social media and YouTube channel. So just look at Fantastic Comics, and you can check me out on all those platforms that are out there.
Perfect. And there will be a link in the video description, as well as at the end screens. There will be a link to his YouTube channel. So if you give him a look, and you might enjoy the channel and want to subscribe.
Yeah, it's all about being a comic store owner and then talking about comics. Sometimes it's a little adult, but it's 8:00 at night.
Yep. No kids. So, Yule, is there anything else that you needed to say before we wrap this up?
No, thanks for having me. This conversation keeps going on, and it's amazing that there's no real comics coming out, but there's a lot of conversations. So thanks for having me.
There is. It's always some more news. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.